So 58,000 ASINs were flagged as Amazon Meltable. I want to be running through this quick playbook on Amazon Meltable, some of the restrictions, your options, FBM, flag it with Amazon, or seller fulfill prime, and some of the math behind it. Now, so what I actually want to do, I want to take a real-time scenario. So we look at someone like David's. They're actively doing FBM. This is a great scenario of we get hundreds of leads a month specifically asking for seller fulfill prime for small and light items, meltables, chocolates, and so forth. And it works, but it's a very technical playbook. So I want to walk you through some of the core nuances. Now, keep in mind, seller fulfill prime is incredibly difficult, meaning we're one of the only players in the US. A lot of people say they can do it. It's difficult. So you got to be very cautious as you think about seller fulfill prime. I would not suggest to do it from your own facility, but there is a way to do it because the biggest challenge with seller fulfill prime is all about the cost impact, how many facilities you need, how much it actually costs to fulfill those orders. But first and foremost, let me just go through three different things. Number one is the actual timeline. So there's around 58,000 SKUs that were impacted by Amazon Meltable. I have a whole list. DM me. I'll share over the list just in case your ASIN is impacted. As of March, right? So April 20th, that's the actual cutoff time. So April 20th to September 28th, this is your impact basis where you can't actually send your stock into Amazon. The rule of thumb is that if it goes and can't survive 155 Fahrenheit, that's the rule because it's going to be stuck in Amazon's trucks and trailers, then it can't be listed inside of Amazon FBA. So what that basically means is that, so you have an April 20th cutoff time. May 1st, disposal actually begins in case the catalog is already in there. And then September 28th, it re-enables, meaning that now you can start sending to FBA again. So in that meantime, you're going to have idle time where either you have to go FBM, you're going to delist the SKU, which you'll never do, or you could potentially explore running seller fulfill prime. But good rule of thumb is that there's 5 months without FBA access. Now, there is a way, say your ASIN is flagged. So if you get the Excel file that I'll share, if it is flagged, there's a way to dispute it. I'll do that in another post. We can walk you through. We have a process and template that you can utilize. Just DM me. But what happens most and what's more important is let's think about self-fulfill prime for a second. So in the post, I'm actually showing you guys there's basically two thought processes for self-fulfill prime. And let's look at something like David's chocolate, for example, is at a 39 price point, they might actually be safe, but it's going to be close. The thought process here is that, so look at SFP, when we think about small and light, you have to be 30% one day, 70% 2 day. That's your coverage metrics. Now to do that, basically you need to do a level of overnight shipping, right? Like 30% of your orders have to go overnight. The way we do it is that when we're doing big and bulky seller fulfill prime, we're actually usually running 4, 5, 6 facilities, and we're using UPS ground, FedEx ground for everything. Now, there's restrictions of our facility. We have to operate 6 days a week. We have to do extended fulfillment windows. There's a ton of other checks and balances. It's not that simple. You have to do seller metrics. You got to have the tech to do the order routing. But for big and bulky, we do a huge split. We ran the data, and the complexity of it, you'll have to always use overnight shipping. There's no amount of warehouses you can add to get seller fulfill prime for small and light if you want to use ground only. So it really makes sense to do 1 or 2 facilities, assuming that they're cold chain, and just utilize small and light. So you can add 12 warehouses. The math doesn't math. It makes more sense to centralize and only use a few hubs. But how we run self-fulfill prime for cold chain is that we'll have a percentage that goes overnight, and then we'll have a percentage that goes ground. We have a tech that does all this order routing, so this isn't us doing it. But what I think is more productive is let me just show you some of the math behind seeing if self-fulfill prime makes sense. Good rule of thumb is like $40 to $50 MSRP is where you're going to have to be. David's chocolate's going to be really close. I know the team running David's, they're awesome. But at a 39 price point, they're going to be right in that weird range. And I'll explain why. Because what happens here is that, so you have your pick, your pack, your supplies. I just said 350. It's going to range, but you have to charge for the fulfillment, which might be $1, $2, depending on where you're going. You have inbound, you have storage, you have the box supplies. If it's cold chain, you might have to do liner inside of the packaging, and you also need ice packs. Ice packs are expensive. Just say 350 for the rule of thumb. I'd rather be over than under. Gel packs, liners, it will be less than this, but I just added it as a variable. And then UPS ground, this visual didn't go, but you'll see in the LinkedIn post, it will range from like $6 to $8. Now you also have air shipping. So when you think about air shipping, this means we're actually going to do an overnight shipping. Think of a UPS overnight. Think of a FedEx 1, FedEx a 2-day. Those can be a doozy. Like we use FedEx 2-day, FedEx 1 ranges from 14 to 20, depending on the size of the actual catalog. The reason I'm saying this is aggressive, but and you'll see in the LinkedIn post, I get a little more granular with the data. You're going to be looking probably like a $20 price point, $20 to $22 all in for ground plus air plus supplies. And if you're selling a $25 catalog, it's just not going to make sense. And so in reality, you really have two scenarios. You have three, but it's going to be shady. So number one, if your ASIN is disputed, you can go ahead and actually dispute it with Amazon. There's a link which I'll provide. The rule of thumb is that you're going to need a note from your manufacturing that product can survive about 155 degrees Fahrenheit, which is insane. Like most supplements don't. It's a gray area. You can dispute, you can try your best, but that's the extended window, and you have to do that before April 20th. So, right, chocolates, gummies, things like that. Some of them don't get flagged, some of them do. There's no proper calculation of how they do it. We see a bunch of like cosmetics brands that don't have issues, but then some protein bars do. Some chocolate brands don't. It's all over the place. Some gummies do, some gummies don't. You can dispute it. That's option number one. Option number two is run SFP. It truly won't make sense unless you have a $40 plus AOV minimum. Now, what we are seeing is we're seeing some brands, what they're doing is that they'll be making 2 packs, 3 packs. If they're not bound by retail basis points, they may actually just increase this, right? So they might go up to like $44.99 or $48.99. The math is difficult because what you're trying to think about is that do you want to have FBM and have it at $39? Or do you want to do SFP? You're going to have way less order velocity, but you'll keep the Prime badge. There's a math equation there, and that's what you have to start to consider. Or we see some other brands raising prices difficult. There's other issues with doing so, or they're creating like their larger case log. So they might have a 2 pack, for example, which is 24 protein bars. That's at a $80 AOV. That's a lot easier for seller fulfill Prime, right? Like you're at a 20 something dollar for fulfillment and shipping. They better be doing it for D2C anyway. That's one of the scenarios that could work really well. So you can run SFP. Good rule of thumb is that you need a minimum 1,000 orders per warehouse. You could use one facility, but we recommend 3. You need to be operating 6 days a week. You need to have extended fulfillment windows. There's some other nuances there. But if you go to FBM, some of our data shows anywhere from like a 30 to 70% drop, depending on the catalog, depending on what category you're in. The good thing is if you're in protein bars or chocolates, a lot of brands can't, but the best brands are running it. It's just difficult from a margin. Your option number 3, which is usually the most realistic, is run FBM. So this means merchant fulfilled. Most 3PLs can do this. You got to be like strategic of like what facilities you use, but you won't have to use a UPS, a FedEx Ground. You can use an Amazon shipping. You can use a Uni if your 3PL has it. Or for example, that's what we do for FBM because it's just way cheaper, right? Like if we're doing self-fulfilled Prime, you're looking at like a $20 shipping plus fulfillment. FBM, you're looking at like $6, $8 all in. Now, depends on how long the product can be fulfilled and delivered by because it's hot, right? So you might need cold lining, you need ice packs. Usually we're trying to narrow the window to like 3 to 4 days on most of that fulfillment. So you can't usually use like a DHL ecom. Like that's just not going to work, but USPS priority could work too. There's options, but the math is around, do you want to lose the Prime badge for 5 months? Can you afford to keep the Prime badge with all the eligibility and metrics and the margin to be able to do so? And if you're going to lose a Prime badge, what's that going to impact you from an algorithm, from velocity? Do you have other strategies? Is Amazon just the top of funnel and you're thinking about the bottom of the funnel for retail strat? All these things can come into play. But either way, we have a ASIN list that you can get from us. We have a playbook on how to do this. And we can actually run the math on Seller Fulfill Prime if you're interested. You drop me an ASIN like David's Chocolate, for example. We can run the math around would Seller Fulfill Prime make sense, what catalog we'd recommend, and beat up the idea before the due date. Let me know if this was helpful. And in the comments, DM me. Comment down below. Have you done FBM? Do you do Self-Fulfill Prime? What's the math? What's your take? We'd love to hear it.